and welcome back to the ninth episode of Ascent Talks. As you can see, my co host is sitting in a car. He
Luckily.
is not sitting in a car. He's got a screen behind which looks like a car, and he wants to actually say that he is taking all the time out to talk about for Ascent. Awesome, Aleem. It's working. Too
Good.
good.
Special effects on the rise over here.
Awesome,
and luckily,
guys. Too good.
luckily it's not in front of a pot.
Good. So, good morning, everyone, and welcome to a ninth episode of Ascent Talks. My name is Ajit Panikar, and I am an Ascent member for 10 years, and I lead Nova, an air conditioning company, and Pure Blue, a tech enabled startup in the air conditioning domain. And my co host, who hasn't missed this episode today, is Aleem. Aleem.
Good morning. Hi, Ajit. Hi, everyone. My name is Aleem. I'm your friendly neighborhood admin and lookalike of Madhavan, I've been told. And
Yes.
I run a company called Synapse. And we're very happy to see you because it's the ninth show today, and we're also having a very exciting show. It's also called Chai Pe Charcha today for a change. So tell us a little more.
Exactly.
Yeah.
True. And I don't know if our viewers know about it. We made sure Aleem came on the Ascent Talks because he's a Madhavan lookalike. We wanted those TRP rating. That's why we got him, man. So to all so to all our members who are joining us for the first time and who wants to know what Ascent is all about, Ascent is a not-for-profit expression of Harsh Mariwala, Chairman, Marico Limited, and his passion to identify high-potential growth stage entrepreneurs and enable them to grow their enterprise and enrich their entrepreneurial journey. Launched in 2012, Ascent today empowers more than 850 entrepreneurs across India. Ascent is designed as a unique, powerful peer to peer platform that leverages the power of the collective through self facilitated groups called trust groups, which enables entrepreneurs to share and exchange experiences, ideas, insights, and create a healthy ecosystem to learn from each other. So, today's event, a weekly event of Ascent Talk, showcases Ascent members and their interesting entrepreneurial journeys. So today, Ali, let's introduce Ascent's Chaiwala today. Let's go ahead and do it, man.
Hey. So, welcoming today is Siddharth. Siddharth, born and brought up in a very small town called Tinsukia, which is nestled between Assam, Nagaland, and Bhutan, if I got that right. And he's a chartered accountant. He's a graduate of IIM Ahmedabad. After working in a supply chain and procurement in Hindustan Lever for 7 years, he's now an entrepreneur in the business of tea manufacturing. He's an avid reader, an active toastmaster, and loves traveling and is a tea aficionado. Siddharth, welcome to the show, and very happy to have you here. uh so that just right off the bat, can you tell us about your business, the nature of the business, the scale, some clients and solutions to understand what you do much better? Yeah.
Yeah, Alim, I think firstly, thank you for that wonderful introduction. And I think there's a significant lag in terms of. So I didn't really hear your question. I think from my side, I couldn't hear
Okay,
you because the connection dropped out.
no problem. So Siddharth, we want to know a little more about your business, the nature of the business, the scale, some clients and solutions to understand it better. Did you grab that?
No, not really.
Ajit, can you
Ah,
try that?
so let me just say. So what Ali is saying. So this is actually live demo between Bombay and Dibrugarh. So you know how the connections are and how far we are going. But the question, Siddharth, what Alim was asking was that tell our viewers more about your business, how you built it, what is your business all about, so our viewers understand it better as to about your company, about your business.
Oh, yeah. So, how my business came to be was that I was heading procurement in Unilever for tea in Assam, and I did two different roles in that. And after doing that for 7 years, it's kind of the only thing I knew very well. So, and then there came an opportunity where I thought that I saw most of my suppliers doing well, and I thought that there's an opportunity there in manufacturing tea. So I manufacture the tea that you drink every day. That's the CTC tea that you have every day. Could
Yeah,
you
go
hear
ahead,
me,
Siddharth. We
Ajit?
can hear you.
Go
I
ahead.
don't know.
Yes,
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 yes.
Siddharth,
Go ahead.
go ahead. Absolutely fine.
Hello.
So that we can.
Yeah,
Go ahead,
Siddharth,
go
we
ahead.
can hear you very clearly. Please
Yeah.
go ahead, Siddharth.
Oh, okay, great. So yeah. Yeah, and so I basically manufacture the tea you have every day with milk, or with or without milk in the mornings during the day. So it's called CTC tea. It's 95% of the tea, 90-95% of the tea we manufacture in India, and it's the tea most Indians have every day in the morning when they start their day. So that's what I do. Yeah.
Amazing. So that, can you tell us how big is this tea market in India, yeah, or globally, or how is this? How, tell us more about this tea market, and tell us, and I actually want to push you a little bit onto this also, and I want to tell us what is tea all about. Yeah, we hear so many things about CTC. You spoke about what does CTC stand for? What is this organic tea? What is this herbal tea? How is tea actually manufactured from tea leaves? And a little about the entire market and the industry. Let's educate us. We drink tea
Yeah.
every day, but please tell us, what do we
That's
drink every day?
I
so.
say we
It's
drink milk
actually
also
very
every day.
interesting. So most of the teas, yeah.
Sorry.
So no, but about the tea specifically, if I want to talk about it, then if you leave out herbal teas, which are basically infusions of which might not have any tea at all in them and might have herbs in them. So let's talk about tea, which is made from tea leaves. So all the different kinds of tea, whether it's CTC tea, green tea, orthodox, white tea, long leaf, all of this is made from the same tea bush. The leaf which comes from the same tea bush is used to make all these different varieties of tea. What makes the tea different is how you process it. So the different manufacturing processes, and those give those different qualities to the tea. So CTC tea that we drink every day is what was introduced by Britishers in India, and we've gotten used to having that. And that's not necessarily true for other tea drinking countries. For example, Turkey is all long leaf and hardly any CTC. China is mostly green tea. So it's I think food habit, and habits don't change very fast. So CTC is actually the manufacturing process. So somewhere in the manufacturing process, the tea leaves pass through what we call a cut tear curl or a cut tear crush process, and they become these granular particles that you see, and that's what gives the name CTC. Green tea, on the other hand, is processed slightly differently. Green tea. So after the leaf is cut on and curled in CTC teas, it oxidizes in presence of oxygen in the air, and that gives it that distinctive brown color when you brew the tea, and the flavor to the tea. Now, green tea, you steam it immediately after plucking, and that kills the enzyme that deactivates the enzymes which oxidize later on in manufacturing. So once you have done that, the leaf tends to stay green, and it doesn't oxidize at all, and that's how it is different from the CTCT that you drink. So the difference is basically one is oxidized in manufacturing, the other is not. One is cut. One is CTC, the other is rolled. So rolling gives you long leaf, which looks like a leaf itself, and the CTC you don't do that. Yeah. I hope that was not like too
That's right.
technical. I think easy enough to
No.
understand.
I think everybody knows. See, from the tea garden to the cup, you know, uh, nobody
Yeah.
understand how it comes from a leaf to this. So, what exactly is that very critical? I know there are about 3 or 4 processes that are very critical when it comes to this. Can you just throw a little bit of a light on and educate us as to from the garden to the cup? How does this whole these 4 critical processes come across?
Okay. Leaf from the tea gardens is plucked every single day. Every day. So you normally divide your garden into 7 parts, and you want to go to every one section every day out of those seven and pluck it once every week, and that leaf comes to your manufacturing unit, and it's allowed to you leave it in what we call a trough for what the process that we call withering. So in withering, what happens is, yeah, it's a chamber like this. It's actually perforated at the bottom and it's open at the top, and you pass air through the leaf, and you want to lose some 30 to 40% moisture during the withering process. And yeah, and the enzymes in the leaf start activating when it's lying there for around 12 hours. Uh, so after 12 hours, so normally the leaf would come during the day and in the evening, and next day early in the morning, after lying in the troughs for 12 to 16 hours, the leaf would be ready for manufacturing. It would have lost some 30-40% weight in terms of which would basically be moisture loss, but the leaf would still be very green and would still look very fresh. And then the next step in the manufacturing would be what we call the CTC process, where you can see those machines. Those are the CTC machines, and the big drum like thing, you think it's called a googie, where which gives the granular structure to the tea. So the cutting process, in the three cuts, you see those three kind of tables there, with conveyors on them. So that's what makes the tea CTC, because they've got stainless steel rollers between which the tea is cut on and curled, and then further curling happens in the googie, which makes the tea granular and tanedar, as we see in the ads, and which is the kind of tea we in India mostly end up drinking. The next step is oxidation. So now that the enzymes in the leaf are exposed to the air, so the oxidation traditionally in tea industry would happen on flow. You'd lay the tea in batches on a oxidation room. In tea, the term for oxidation is fermentation, but there's no fermenting involved. It's only oxidation happening. So for people who actually manufacture tea, I should be saying the tea is being fermented, but it's actually just being oxidized. And this is again like a conveyor with a wire mesh below it, and there's air passing through the tea, and the oxygen in the air works with the enzymes, and it turns the leaf from green to brown in about 60 to 90 minutes, depending upon the temperature during the day and the amount of moisture in the leaf and other things. This process is pretty critical, because what you see is the discharge end of the oxidation machine or the fermenting machine, and how long this tea spends on this pretty much determines the flavor and the color. So there's some amount of judgment involved here, in terms of there's no truly scientific method to decide when this process is complete. Some amount of experience comes in play here, and the tea actually at this point is wet but ready to be brewed and drunk. So the next step is drying, and you want to remove the moisture in the tea, and you want to heat up the tea to around 100 degrees centigrade or above to deactivate the enzymes and stop further oxidation. So this is the final drying process. This is called a fluid bed dryer. There's again hot air pass through the tea, and the tea behaves like a fluid, and it travels from one end of the dryer to the other end, and the tea is now ready to drink. The only problem here is the tea is a mixture of granules of all different sizes. So from very small, which is called the dust, to the very large, which is called the BOP or BPS. And consumers in different parts of India have different definitions of tea. So some people will prefer a packet of 3 roses, which is primarily the smaller particles, PD and dust. And some people will like Red Label and Taj, which is larger particles, BOP, BP. But it's all the same tea. Yeah, but because of smaller particles have larger surface area compared to the volume, you'll get stronger tea with smaller particles. Vis-a-vis, if you brew larger particles, you'll not get as much strength. But again, it's a consumer preference. The tea is all the same. It comes from the same bush, undergoes the same process. It's just sorted into different sizes, and again mixed by the marketing companies like Unilever, Tata, Wagh Bakri, and 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 sold to
Amazing.
consumers. So,
Amazing, amazing. So now this is the engineering side of a chaiwala. Too good here. Absolutely good here.
thank
आज
you.
सबका PhD है चाय बनाने में. Just tell me one thing I didn't understand is महाभारत खत्म हो गई, राम कौन है kind of thing. No, रामायण खत्म हो गई, महाभारत राम कौन है. But what is the full form of CTC यार, वही नहीं समझा मुझे. I think he can't hear me. Ajit, you'll have to be my mouthpiece today.
Yeah. Siddharth, what he was saying is, what Aleem is saying is, what is the full form of CTC?
Yeah, so CTC stands for cut tear curl. Some people say cut tear crush. It's actually curl. So there are like interlocking stainless steel rollers between which the tea leaf passes, and these are there's a helical teeth on these helical rows of teeth between which the leaf passes, which kind of cuts, tears the leaf, and also kind of curls it a little bit to give it some amount of granular structure, and that's why it's called CTC. So.
Super. I'm not sure, Aleem, you want to try talking to Siddharth and see if he can hear you very
Yeah.
clearly?
That, can you hear me? There's a sound issue with me and you.
I think I've lost
Some
you
reason.
guys from my end. I don't know why this like
Okay, no,
of
Siddharth,
network.
we can hear you. Let me take it up. So to avoid for the paucity of time.
Yeah.
So, Siddharth, just tell us a little about how you founded this company. You were a professional working for Unilever, and I hope you realize this is like a dream job for most of these guys who come out from IIMs and everything to work for a large company like Unilever. And you kind of work for Unilever, sitting at the right at the top, doing a lot of stuff in terms of procurement, and you chose to leave the job and get into entrepreneurship and decide to set up your own company. So tell us, how did all that happen? What was that journey all about, and how do you take that plunge here?
Yeah, so actually, Unilever was a dream job for me as well. Out of campus, I was in IBM for a year, and then I was in Unilever for 7 years. And it was a great learning experience. I think working in a large company like that with lots of systems and processes and ways of working. So I think what I've learned in terms of how to work professionally, I've learned largely in what I've learned in Unilever. And it's had a huge impact in on me in terms of how I run my organization as well. So I had great bosses who pushed me really hard and forced me to think. And I think I think you learn so much more if somebody pushes you. But I think there was always somewhere at the back of the mind, me being a Marwari and seeing all my friends and relatives being entrepreneurs. So there's something at the back of my mind that maybe I should start my own business at some point of time. And after having worked in tea for 7 years, I think that's the kind of only thing I knew well. Somehow, coincidentally, I happened to be from Assam and I happened to be in tea in Unilever, and I saw some opportunity there in terms of I saw that a lot of my suppliers were doing well, and I thought that I thought that there was a lot of scope for improving processes and controls and systems in the way the factories were being run, and that's how I set out to do this. Yeah, in between when I quit Unilever, it was middle of 2013. By the time I managed to start my unit, it was in 2000, early 2015. So that 1.5 and 2 years was very dark in the way that I did not know that you needed so many licenses to set up a tea manufacturing unit, and it took me quite some time, almost a year and a half, to get those licenses in place. Now it has been de-licensed; anybody can set it. That's happened just a year back. But until then, you would actually have to go to Tea Board and take a license, and after that, you'd get all the other licenses, food safety, factories license, and a whole bunch of other. And it took me a year and a half to figure all of that out and get the bank financing in place. And yeah, but it's been a very interesting journey. And yeah, Unilever was great, but I also love running my own organization, and I think it's very fulfilling to be able to do that. And yeah, I think yeah, it's been a very interesting journey for me as well. Very tough
Yeah,
initially, but yeah, very interesting. Yeah.
so it's very nice to hear that it is interesting. But to be very honest with you, you must share with us how interesting, or the right word is, how challenging was it, man? I mean,
Oh,
moving from a professional career, and where you sit at the top, you're handling a vertical, you got people to do everything, you don't have to look about cash flows, just stay focused on this, and then suddenly you run into this business and you got to do everything, right from the peon to the owner, everything you do. How was that? I mean, in terms of the
oh,
challenges, what are the challenges you faced? Yeah, share some of those learnings from there. Yeah.
yeah, I think it was extremely challenging at first because I had a pretty high debt equity ratio at the beginning, and therefore there was a regular cash outflow to the bank every month. So come what may, I needed to make sure that there was enough money to do that and to take care of all the expenses. So, and that was a huge challenge at the beginning. I managed to do that. I mean, and without delaying my creditors, or but yeah, it meant that I had to be very agile at the beginning in terms of how I sold my produce, and I had to be very, very fast to make sure that my cash flows were always in place. And also there was another challenge in terms of when you're working in Unilever, you're working with colleagues who are with a certain background and a certain way of thinking. And then when you come and set up your own manufacturing unit, you're mostly you working with a very different profile of people whose thought processes and aspirations and goals are very different, and what turns them on and what makes them kick is very different from what you have seen. And mostly you're working with blue collar workers, and versus I've come and worked with mostly you know uh, highly qualified people doing their white collar jobs for many years. So intellectually you're working at a different level, and then when you're running your own factory, you're working at a completely different there's a completely different set of rules and which apply. So I think that the biggest challenge still today is for me is HR. I think that's true for any organization. I think
Yeah,
HR is one of the
true.
biggest challenges, and unfortunately, with what has happened with the industry, tea used to be a very attractive industry. I think 30, 40 years back, but somewhere along the way, 15, 20 years back, a lot of qualified people stopped joining the industry. So there's a dearth of highly qualified people in the industry. and which is one of the reasons why there are certain challenges in the industry as well. So a lot of the people who are now doing the jobs in the industry are people who have learned on the job rather than having qualified from a technical institution and then learned on the job, which I think can make some difference in terms of how willing are people to experiment. And the other challenge in the industry I found was that people very afraid of experimenting and taking chances and trying to explore things further. People just wanted to do things the way they had been done for last 25 years, last 50 years. If you hire somebody, they will say that I've done this thing this way for last 25 years. But that might not be necessarily be the most correct processes. So I actually read up every book I could find on tea manufacturing, and I tried to automate as many things as I could, so that my dependency on people and their ideas could be lessened, and we could be more process defined and more process controlled and automated as far as possible. That has helped me largely to manufacture a standardized product. Over and above other things, I think that's been one of the key things which has led me to being able to make a good product which is profitable and which has a readily acceptable market. So
That's amazing. We just have a quick question that's come from one of our viewers, Naresh Shani, and he says, in the manufacturing process, do you guys add any preservatives inside?
no, actually, nothing is added to the tea at all. It's all very physical processing. There's no chemical which is added. There's absolutely nothing is added to the tea. You basically control temperature, humidity at different times during the manufacturing process, and you basically pass it through the CTC machine. You don't even add a drop of water actually. So it's completely what comes from the bush is what goes to the packets. Nothing is added at all. There is no. Nothing, it's just physical processing. You just heat it up, you cut it, you allow air to oxidize it, you allow air to pass through it to lose moisture. So it's a completely natural product, completely safe, and I think it's a great conversation starter, and of course it keeps you awake if you're feeling very sleepy. So
Awesome. Tell me something, so that you are from Dibrugarh, between Dibrugarh and Guwahati.
yeah.
How did you discover Ascent, and tell us about your Ascent journey? How did you connect, and tell us that the Ascent journey that you had?
Yeah, so one of my friends from Guwahati is in Ascent, and I think he's the only other person I know from Guwahati who's in Ascent actually. And he incidentally referred me to Ascent, and I'm thankful to him because I found a bunch of friends here who are there if I ever need them, and to share my thoughts, my feelings, my challenges in my business, and even my personal life. And I think I'm really lucky that I was referred to Ascent, and I found 10, 11 like-minded entrepreneurs with whom I can share my thoughts, aspirations, my fears, uh, whom I can trust completely. I think
Awesome.
I met
Too
them.
good. Yeah.
We had our first physical meeting this year, and we had our lifeline sessions, and I think it went absolutely great, and it really opened up everybody, and everybody was completely honest as to their own struggles, and it was also very humbling experience to hear their struggles. I thought my struggles were a challenge, but some other entrepreneurs, my God, they really went through some really steep challenges and overcame that to start their own businesses. So
Yeah, I think this is fantastic. Ali, this is the biggest takeaway even which I had. I always believe that I had a dearth of problems and it was a challenge. And then suddenly I go and listen to someone and say, yeah, I'm the way off here. I'm well off here. I'm really well off. And
yeah.
suddenly that problem becomes so small that you kind of find a solution to it. What's your take on this, Ali?
So I think Lifeline is one of the most important things that a trust group does, because it can. So initially, when you meet, you're meeting superficially. You're just trying to talk business things on that. But Lifeline really takes you to a whole new level. Then you suddenly have friends that are deeper than your school friends, deeper than some of your relatives and some of your family members also. So I think even when we did our Lifeline, the way we connected, I think some of us went back to our rooms, cried, and then came back to the
Yeah.
room because we could not take that what we heard about them. But yeah, it
Yeah, I
does
think
make
it's
you.
amazing. I think it's always been an amazing experience. All
No,
right.
it
So
is. And
Siddharth, sorry, go ahead. Go ahead.
no, it's absolutely is, and it really is transformational. The lifeline experience is, I think we should do it much. We should have done it much earlier in our group. Is my learning from the experience. Yeah,
It always feels
yeah.
like that. Yeah, yeah.
On
Should have
always
done.
feels like
Please
that,
go
all
ahead.
of us. Absolutely. So that we've got about close to about 4 5 minutes before we wind up. So apart from your Kadamba tea, apart from everything else, tell us about your personal life. You're in Dibrugarh. You're spend time between Dibrugarh and Guwahati. Everyone India wants to know weekend में क्या करते हो यार चाय तो पूरा पीते हैं लेकिन weekend में क्या करते हो और ये तो बताओ and how do you spend
Yeah,
time, how do you balance between the tea estates, your family, and tell us a little about your family too, yeah.
और चाय के अलावा
Your
क्या
personal
पीते
hobbies. और चाय
yeah.
क्या-
So my wife stays at Guwahati, and she's a chartered accountant, and she was working with PwC until 2020, and then she quit and she started her own business, which is also now located where my factory is located, in the same village, so which is Alimod. And she has now started a handicraft business where around 60 women in the village are manufacturing a natural fiber. There's a plant called Meteca or water hyacinth. So it's like a weed which fills up all the water bodies, and they are clearing up the water bodies and drying that and using it to manufacture handicraft items. So the reason why I was at Guwahati was because my wife was working here, and my son, who's in class 9, is studying here as well. And uh, and uh, but now, with my wife also having started a business which is based out of Dibrugarh, I have one less reason to be actually at Guwahati. So I've actually been spending a lot of my time weekdays at Dibrugarh and weekends at Guwahati. During the season, tea is a seasonal commodity in Assam, and it's manufactured between March and middle of March and middle of December. So around we have 3 months of off season where there's no tea being produced. Because North India is quite cold, and then the tea bushes stop producing leaf during that time. Yeah, so it's been quite a challenge actually, whole lot of traveling, but also very interesting. Yeah, so and yeah, Dibrugarh is very beautiful. It's scenic. The air is much cleaner, and it's like, if some of my friends who have visited say that it's like a resort. Yeah, so being close to a tea estate, and yeah, so I think
Yeah, Alim,
that's
Alim,
the
Alim,
perk
he
of.
said that purposely. He said that
Yeah,
purposely because we are
yeah.
in Bombay and we know that the air quality has been a little bad. He says, "Yeah, the air is damn good. It's good." He just
Yeah,
wants to rub it off. मैं Dibrugarh से हूँ, लेकिन yeah, I got a better
yeah.
life than you guys. That's what it
Yeah,
is,
but
right, Siddharth?
Guwahati has all the perks of a small city, and you have everything which needs which you find in cities, even Dibrugarh to an extent, but Guwahati so much more so. And I've got friends here, and yeah, and I love to, I'm a part of Toastmasters for last 5 years, and I've got I love public speaking, and I found a lot of friends who love that as well, and we meet every week and we have a great time. Yeah, I mean, that's another organization I would
Mm,
recommend everybody to join who's not a Toastmaster. Yeah, yeah. I think it's a very very wonderful way to learn public speaking. Yeah,
I'm going
amazing.
to connect
Too good.
separately on more details on that one actually. So
yeah,
yeah,
absolutely, anytime.
It's amazing,
fantastic.
Siddharth. It's been fantastic. But Siddharth, before we actually wind up, uh, give us one good reason why we shouldn't be in a metro and be in a small town like Dibrugarh, apart from being in the business in the tea. Okay, why should we be in a small city and not in a big metro? Now that you're one of them who's lived there.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I
Ajit
think
is
the
in his
quality.
midlife crisis, so he has these issues nowadays.
Yeah.
Midlife crisis accepted, done.
No, I think that see, I have seen big cities, and me and my family, we somehow prefer small cities and smaller places, because I think the quality of life is so much better. You have so much more time to do things you want to do, and for example, if you wanted to live in a 1,500 square feet or a 2,000 square feet flat at Bombay, it would cost you a ton of money, and you could have the same space at a smaller place, or a bigger space at a fraction of a price. You'll miss out some of the perks of being in a big city, but overall you spend so much less time traveling, and the quality of life is better. You have more time for your family and friends, and so I think those are the things which are important in the long run, at least for me. I think in
Awesome.
cities people end up spending too much time commuting, and I think the quality of life overall I find in cities is to be much
Great.
poorer compared to smaller second tier two cities and smaller towns. Yeah.
So, Siddharth, we have a question from Dinesh. We're going to take this extra 2 minutes because it's an interesting question. While scaling for a sustainable is it better to groom a candidate to our organizational needs over a period of time or go with direct recruiting? What's your take? What's your experience, especially? I mean, that's a
Yeah.
very
So
interesting
in
question
my
considering from
experience,
where you're coming from.
no, it is very interesting. And in my experience, because I found a dearth of people in my industry who were up to my requirements. So I started hiring freshers and grooming them. So every year I hire 2 interns who have done some tea course. They're 6 year to 6 month to 1 year courses for graduates conducted by reputed tea research institutes and other associations, and hire two of these interns. They are freshers and I train them up. And then that gives me a kind of also gives me a comfort factor in terms of having enough people in the organization in case if there was a sudden exit. So I also like to keep say a couple of people extra in the organization in supervisory roles, which kind of, because tea is very intense industry, especially 4 months of my industry is when we manufacture 55% of the annual produce, and I can't afford to lose anyone at that time. So for me, I've realized that grooming people works better than hiring direct from the industry, especially at junior levels.
Amazing. So
Fantastic.
that's just about the time that we have. We were kind of overshot it by a minute, but thank you so much, Siddharth. There's been a fabulous learning session and fantastic to hear you out. Thank you for taking time out for being on Ascent Talks today. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Ajit and
See
Alim.
you.
It was wonderful to talk to you. And yeah, I think very interesting questions as well. You really made me think about some of the answers. So, but yeah, wonderful talking to
Thanks a
you.
lot.
And yeah, yeah, thanks a lot. Yeah,
Thank you very much, Siddharth. Thank you very much. Thanks a
thank
lot.
you.
Thank you.
All right, guys. Yeah. So, all right, guys. So, we just kind of overshot by a minute. But before we close, we are at the end of the show. And two things to do. Action points. You're an entrepreneur, happy doing what you want to do. Follow us on the LinkedIn page. And every Friday, we'll come up with a new entrepreneur who will share his journey. It's 30 minutes of inspiring sessions. But if you believe that you are growth ready and you want to be part of India's growth story and be part of a cohort of 850 such creative entrepreneurs across the country, get to the ascentfoundation.in page and apply for membership. A disclaimer here, this is not like a membership that you apply, pay a fees, and become part of it. There is a process. The Ascent team will get in touch with you, they will evaluate you. And if you're truly a growth ready entrepreneur, then we'll be happy to bring you on board and be part of our cohort. So go ahead and fill that application on ascentfoundation.in. So that's it for today. And we'll see you next Friday at 11 a.m. with a new Ascent member story. Hopefully, Aleem will change his location by then and he will not be on the roads. Who knows? He might be on a pot the next time he comes to
But
London.
my
We never
commitment.
know.
And today I used one actress only doing expressions as a expression कर रहा था मैं actress की तरह side पे. But I hope you guys enjoyed the show. Please share, comment, like, and see you next week. Yeah.
See you guys. Bye bye. See you next week.
Bye bye.